Hey YouTube, welcome back to the Blades to Be shop and another project video. We've been working on this Pierson Pro Pallet system. So today we're going to take one of these Pierson pallets and we're going to cut out really a full design of a pallet that I'm going to be able to use to hold these 2x5 inch titanium blanks that I use to make most of my handle pieces. So we're going to go through, show you the design of this pallet, and then we're going to come down here, cut this, get it all set up, and get it ready for use. Hey, as always, shout out to my subscribers. Appreciate you helping me grow the Blades to Be channel. If you're new to the channel, I encourage you to get out there, check out some of the other videos on machining, welding, knife making, just everything else going on here in the Blades to Be shop. If you like what you see, appreciate it if you'd hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, drop a like, drop a comment on here. Always love to hear what people think about the videos and looking for new ideas for future videos. All right, first step, we're gonna head up to the computer. We're gonna check out the design of this pallet in Fusion 360, and then we're gonna come down here on this Tormach 1100MX, start making some chips. All right, let's head up to the computer and take a look at the design of this. Let's go.
All right, let's take a look at this first, what I would call my real pallet that I'm going to design. If you watch the other videos, you saw that I've already gone through and I've already decked, machined the top off of all of these pallets. I've beveled the edges. We've got our single point of origin set up. So our single point of origin down here, going to be X and Y on the round post on the pallet, Z off of the top of one of the pads. So I've got all that set up already. And now we're going to get in here and we're actually going to machine out the rest of this pallet. And this is going to be to hold my 2x5 inch titanium blanks. They are 190 thou thick, some of them up to 1/4 of an inch thick. That is the starting point for most of my knife handles, is a 2x5 inch piece of titanium. With this pallet, we'll be able to hold 6 of those and machine them. So I've got the pockets for the titanium. I've got the pockets for the Mitee Bite clamps in here, drilled and tapped, should be all set. So I went through, so we're going to do an adaptive clearing with a 1/2 inch end mill. We're going to go in there and clean out those 6 main pockets. After that, I'm going to drop down to a 3/8 end mill and go in and clean out all the pockets for the Mitee Bite clamps. So we get all of those done, and then I'm leaving 25 thou material on all of those adaptive and those roughing cuts. Get in there with a 1/4 inch end mill and going to go into all 21 of those pockets and clean everything up. So that's going to be the final step with a 1/4 inch end mill. I've got a yellow flag on here, and I'm pretty sure it's because I did not go put the radiuses in on all these corners. I probably should do that so that what you see is what you get, but it's basically telling me that it is not going to machine. Some contours were not machined, so I'm pretty sure it's just telling me it's not the corners. I hope the flag isn't for something else. I guess we'll figure that out after, but it seems to simulate fine, machine's fine, so I'm pretty sure it's just telling me it can't get into all those tight corners and clean those up. After that, we get in there with our helicoil drill all the holes, and then we get in there with the helicoil tap. And I'm only rigid tapping 300 thou deep. The holes are 550 thou. I want to make sure I leave at least 1/4 of an inch on the bottom for chip clearance, and I'm just still not confident rigid tapping all the way down into some of these blind holes, so I want to make sure I have clearance. That is our basic setup. Let's take a quick look at the simulation on what this is going to look like. So we'll play this fairly quickly, go through and take a look. Again, going to adaptive clearing, clear out those 6 pockets. Let's blast through that. Oh, then we go through there and we use that 3/8 end mill, clean out all the Mitee Bite pockets, and then that 1/4 inch is going to get in there and finish everything off. Clean it up as best we can. Get in there, drill, tap all the holes, and we should be good. Says it's going to take about 2 hours total. I'm probably being a little bit conservative on some of my speeds and feeds, especially on some of my feeds, maybe going around a little bit slow, but you know, that's still me on the CNC side of it, trying to make my tools last a little longer, make sure I'm doing everything a little more conservative than you probably could do. Overall, total machine time for all 5 tools, all 5 of those operations, should be just a little over 2 hours. Last thing I did here is I went and looked at my setup sheet. So I've got this printed out. So printed out my setup sheet, make sure I've got a setup for the 5 tools that we need. Kind of breaks it down for that first 1/2 inch end mill, looking at about 32 minutes to rough out the 6 pockets, 38 minutes with the 3/8 to rough out the 18 Mitee Bite pockets. It's only a little over 2 minutes a pocket, so when you break it down, it's not crazy bad. That 1/4 inch end mill is going to take about 44 minutes to get in there, and then the drill and tapping, that's going to go pretty quick. Looking at 4 minutes to drill all the holes and 1.5 minutes to tap all those holes in there. And then we'll finish tapping them by hand, and we should be able to test fit our piece in there. So that's what this pallet should look like when it's done. Let's head back down to the Tormach and let's go ahead and get this set up. Start making some chips. Let's go.
All right, well, we took a look at what we're cutting in Fusion. Now we're down here at the machine. I had to set up a couple of tools, so I just set the tool height on those. While I was doing that, I went ahead and just reprobed. The beauty of it is with this single point of origin over here on this pin, I really don't need to reprobe it, but it's been a week since I've run the machine. Thought, what the heck, I'm just gonna go ahead and check it. Happy to say I had a 1/10 difference on Z, and I was spot on going across my 2 points over there. So didn't adjust anything there. Again, I got another video out there if you want to know more about setting tool heights. I'm just putting my tool setter right here on the deck, changing my work offset to G55. That's what I've got it set up for there. So I've got my tools set. I've got all 5 tools ready to go. I am back on my G59.3 offset, which is my single point of origin for these pallets. Let me get our pallet in here. We'll take a look at the tools, and then we'll be ready to push go and start making some chips. So when this was not in use, I had a pallet sitting on here to protect it, wiped up the chips a little bit, made sure that we're all good. I've got my little dot over here. That's my origin point. It's going to go that way. I already wiped this, but just make sure my pads are clean. There we go. All right. We are locked on there. So let's take a quick look at the tools we've got loaded. All right, the weather's nice outside, so I've got the door open, a little more glare here, but I think we can still see everything. So for this operation, we're going to use tool number 44 in there first. That's that 1/2-inch cutter. Then we're going to grab tool number 43, the 3/8 to cut the other pockets. Then we're going to come around, we're going to clean everything up with that number 42, that 1/4-inch end mill. And then we're going to drill the helicoil holes with 83, come back and tap those with 84. So a couple things I thought of when my setup, I did not go in and center drill these holes, but I'm down in that pocket. My center drill is not very long, so I'm going to go ahead and run with it. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be all right if I don't center drill those. If it looks like it's a problem after the first couple, we'll have to make an adjustment. And then I also noticed I didn't do any kind of a chamfer around the edge, so when this gets done, we'll take a look. And again, the beauty of the pallet system, even if I pull it out or put it back in, I may go up and tweak the program, and I may go ahead and run the chamfer tool around number 12, just around that outer edge, and get rid of any sharp burr that's up there. We'll see what it feels like when it comes out. I'll decide if I'm going to do that. I may just run around it with my deburring tool and knock it off that way. So again, we got our tools loaded up. We are set on G59.3 for the offset for that single point of origin for my pallet system. We've got our program loaded up in here. So this is what I posted from Fusion upstairs. You can see we've got our 6 big pockets, all of our little Mitee Bite clamp pockets. Looking good. Let's go ahead and execute, make some chips.
Alright, well, I left the M1 cycle brake on, so we're at 35 minutes. It's still counting while I just blew the chips out. But so far, I think we are looking pretty good there. So that 1/2 inch end mill did nice. I'm sure I could have run my feed a little bit faster than 20 inches per minute. But yeah, that cut out nice. We'll get that 3/8 one on there and we'll see how it's doing. All right, we got op number 2 complete. All the pockets done. We're at about 1 hour and 17 minutes. And here is how we're looking. Pockets look good. I think everything is matching up, doing exactly what it's supposed to. So I am gonna go and do a quick measurement. Probably should have done this up in Fusion, but I'm gonna verify that when I drill down into these holes and drill and tap, that I am not gonna end up getting into the lock mechanism on there. It's gonna be close, so let me do some quick measuring here. And then we'll get on and do our 1/4 inch end mill, finish this up, drill and tap. All right, I did a quick measurement and we should have no problem. Our holes should be right down in this area, should have plenty of clearance, not getting to that ring and not getting to this one. So drill and tap. We're not gonna come all the way through to the bottom, but we just wanna make sure it wasn't gonna hit one of those rings, and we should be in good shape. Let's get this 1/4 inch end mill going. All right, I don't think I've ever done pockets this deep, so pretty happy with the chip clearing. These deep pockets, this long one here was getting pretty full of chips just from machining the other ones, and now that it's in there doing its spiral down, it's totally blasted all those out, and it's clear. And we're going to use the full edge of this end mill here in a minute. It gets a pretty aggressive cut once it goes in and radiuses out those corners. So that's going to be full depth on this 1/4 inch end mill, 25 inches of feed. Going to take a pretty nice cut out of those 4 corners here in just a second. There we go. Yep, spitting some chips out of there pretty good. I think I'm pretty happy with that chip clearing, even with the standard coolant pump on there. Nice. All right, with all our stops, we're a little over our cycle time. After that last tool break, I went inside, grabbed the drink, did a couple other things. So we're at 2 hours, 11 minutes total. We've only got about 8 minutes of drilling and tapping left to go. I think that is starting to look like a pallet there now. All our pockets are finished. Looks nice. Again, showed that chip clearing, no troubles keeping all the chips out of there. We've got good clearance for our drilling and tapping on the holes. So let's go ahead and knock that out. Made quick work of those holes. Only ran about maybe 5-6 minutes on our plan. Again, good chip clearing on those. Let's run the tap and then we'll just hand tap a little bit. We'll be nearly done. Still deciding whether I want to run a chamfer tool around there or not, or just see if I can break it with my hand deburring tool. We'll check that out here in a minute. All right, 2 hours, 23 minutes. And there we go. We've got our pallet machined. Need to get in there, hand tap those holes a little bit. Probably gonna have to grind the point off that tap to make sure I get in there enough depth. So we'll finish hand tapping those to depth, get our helicoils inserted, then we'll get our clamps in there, take a look at it. All right, we're ready to go in here and finish tapping these holes and get the helicoils put in. Now, I really should have ground the point off this tap before I did my rigid tapping. I set my depth for 300 thou because it's only a 550 thou deep hole. Gave a little bit of clearance on the bottom for chips, but with that point on the bottom and the taper on this tap, it only tapped in there about a thread or two, so it's enough that it should give us a nice square start, but I've ground the tip off of this now. We may have to even grind it back a little further. We'll see how well our helicoils fit in there, but definitely the next time I use this tap, it should end up going in there a little bit deeper. So as it is, we've got a whole bunch of holes here to go and finish hand tapping, and we'll get that knocked out. We'll get our helicoils put in.
All right, let me test this first one and see if I need to grind that tap off a little bit further or if I've got it in there far enough. All right, it is barely there. It just barely got my insert down, running it right to the end of the thread. So I think I'm gonna grind that tap just a hair off. See if I've got enough to break that tab down there. All right, I think we have everything working. So I just popped it out of here real quick to tip it over, knock the little tab that I broke off out of there, but we should be set. Obviously I'll use a torque wrench when I go to torque these all down and get them the same, but our depth is good. I think I'm just gonna grind a hair off of that tap just to make sure that I don't have a helicoil that ends up sticking out of the top just a little bit. So we'll go down just a little bit further, but we are getting good clamp on there. That is nice. Gets a little snug when it hits that O-ring, so I thought I was hitting the bottom, but no, we're in good shape. All right, 17 more to go. Let's knock them out. All right, I went in there, I blew them out, I made sure I got every one of those tabs out, and I took one of these bolts from a clamp and I just ran it down to make sure it went all the way in, no binding, went below the surface of the pallet here, so I know they're going down farther than when clamping. So I know the holes are all clear. Gonna put a little bit of grease on these, and let's get all of our Mitee Bites in there.
There's a good shot of what that looks like. Complete. Taps finished. Helicoils all inserted. Got all those Mitee Bites on there. We have a finished, ready to go pallet. All right, let's give this a little test and see how it does. There's enough to test there. Well, there we go. I'll figure out what my torque spec is on those to torque them down. But I've got clearance. I'll be able to take a 4 thou skim cut off the top of there. Yep, even the head of my bolts down underneath. But they all stick slightly above the pallet, and I know they all screwed down to where they were at least flush with the top of the pallet or below. So, no thread binding. Hey, we are looking good. Well, I'm going to call that success for our first true pallet creation. I need to go back and make another one very, very similar to this. That's going to hold blade blanks, so I should be able to get 8 of those on a pallet instead of just 6. I'll make sure. I'm afraid I'm going to come in right at my centerpieces here. I may have to do them kind of like I did here in the center. I may have to put my clamps on either side here to get those, leave a bit of a space, and then do the same thing down here. Get 8 of those. So I'll do another one for blade blanks, and then, hey, tune in next week. We will start using these pallets. Now that I've got them done, I need to go set up all the cam to be able to machine these handle blanks, get this other pallet done, get the cam set up for those, and then we'll be ready to start using these and again, hopefully crank out some knives a little bit faster. All right, one last step on this pallet is I'm gonna go stamp the end of it before I put it back in the pallet rack so I can easily identify them as they're standing up on edge. So let's go put a stamp on there and then we'll wrap up this video. All right, I'm just gonna stamp on here so that when these are in my rack in the drawer, I can easily figure out which pallet it is. I'm sure I could stand these on end and engrave these in the Tormach, but you know, why turn a 5-minute job into an hour job when you don't have to? And there it is, 2.5 tie blanks. And into the drawer. Grab another one out. Go start working on the one. Hold those blade blanks. Let's wrap up this video. Well, YouTube, that's a wrap on another project here in the Blades to Be shop. Hope you enjoyed as we went through, designed this pallet and cut this out for the Pierson Pro Pallet system. I'm pretty happy with this pallet I've got designed now. I think this is definitely going to speed up my production as I am trying to turn these into a whole lot more of these and a whole lot faster. So I do think that's going to increase our production, make that happen a little bit quicker, and excited to get up there and work on another one to hold these blade blanks and again just start cranking out a little bit more knives a little faster process. So appreciate you tuning in to watch this. Shout out to my subscribers. If you're new to the channel, again, great time to get out there. Check out some of the other videos on the Blades to Be channel about machining, welding, knife making, just everything else we've got going on here in the shop. If you like the channel, would love it if you hit that subscribe button and help us grow here in 2022. And if you like this video, drop a like, drop a comment on here. Always love to hear from you and always looking for ideas for new videos in the future. Until next time, I hope you're out in your own shop working on some projects of your own, making some chips of your own. I'll be here in the Blades to Be shop, probably working on that next pallet and working on getting some knives ready. I will be at the Blade Show in Atlanta in June, so if you happen to be around Atlanta, would love to see you there, and I'll put a little bit more information out on what table I'll be at for that show as well.
that's going to be a little bit of my focus here for the next couple of months, is getting ready for that blade show in Atlanta. Till next time, y'all take care.